Hi everyone, welcome back to Battlefield 1 multiplayer. Today we're going to be talking about the Scout or Sniper class in Battlefield 1. And it's a class I'm not very good with and I don't like very much, but it's got some really fun gadgets. And we're going to talk about those first. And this is the Spot Flare. It's one of those things that does exactly what it says it does. In the bottom left you can see there's a white circle on my minimap now. And any enemies that are inside that white circle are automatically spotted on the minimap. And if anyone on our team kills them, I get a 25-point bonus, and if an enemy steps on the flare while it's active, it'll start setting them on fire and do some fire damage, which is great. It's a nice bonus. You can get some kills. You'll see at least one in this video. You also saw when I fired on that tank I did damage. That is because I had K-bullets equipped. K-bullets do minimal damage to tanks. They're really there to harass and soften them up for people who have actual anti-tank weaponry. But every now and again you'll get lucky and kill a tank with one of those things because it has low health. It's sort of a blink away tool. It's not really meant to kill every tank you see. And there are quite a few other gadgets with the Scout, and this is where we kind of go into territory of stuff I don't have video of right now. You will see the trench periscope in a bit, and I'll talk about it then, but there's also a flash flare, which I don't really use. What it does is it blinds enemies who get too close to it. It's not as useful as the spot flare in my mind, and it doesn't get you the kind of points you'd get with a spot flare, so it's semi-useless in my opinion. Now, the trench periscope that we're going to see in a minute or two is actually pretty useful, and it's got a couple of purposes. But by the way, if you look on the right side of the map between A and B right now, you can see all those blue dots, and a guy in the hill and the guy I'm about to spawn on. Those are all scouts. This is what scouts look like in this game. It's just off in a hill somewhere, not really near a point a lot of the time, and I feel like that's a misuse of the class. I like to stab things as a scout, and you're going to see a lot of that in this video. Anyways, the trench periscope, this fellow is going to be using that, and he's going to be using it as a rangefinder because it does actually tell you the distance between you and the point you're looking at, and he's trying to zero his rifle for sniping purposes. But it's actually got a secondary function, or a primary function, I should say, that is to spot enemies. It's similarly to when you die, it throws a red outline on enemies that it's spotted or are being looked at with it, which is absolutely fantastic, but I've literally never seen anyone use it in that capacity at all, ever. Yeah, it's kind of bad the way it's been used in this game, but hopefully there'll be some buffs out there for it that'll make it better. We'll see how that goes. Now there's another spotting tool, if you will, for the Scout class, and those are decoys. They're kind of like scarecrows with metal helmets, and if somebody on the other team looks at one of those things and hits the spot button, it will actually spot the person hitting the spot button instead, which is kind of neat. And it also will absorb a few rounds every now and again for people who aren't paying too much attention and see a human shape and just fire on it. So they'll kind of give themselves away a little bit. It's kind of neat in that regard. And right there I killed somebody with a K-bullet. That is not, by the way, like something you should be trying to do too much, killing someone with K-bullets, because it doesn't do any additional damage to humans as far as I can tell. It's really just something to do some damage to armor. And right here, yeah, don't ever play Scout like I play Scout at this point, because this is all really a bad idea. You're not going to get a lot of those no-scope headshots, let me tell you, as you probably saw right after that. Actually, I don't get a lot of Scout rifle kills at Scout rifle distance.
That's one of their Scouts!
But we'll talk about that in a moment. There's one other set of tools to talk about when it comes to Scouts, and those are trip mines. Trip mines were support weapons in the beta and the alpha, and they switched over to the Scout class between beta and alpha, or beta and final release. There are three types. You have your incendiaries that'll set people on fire, and the ones I recommend using because a lot of people still don't understand how to deal with being on fire in this game. Then you have your high explosives, which are probably the second most useful, just because they will do 80 points of damage immediately, and that will kill a lot of people, but not everybody, so that's why they're not the most useful, but still pretty useful. And then there's gas, and the gas ones just release a gas cloud similar to a gas grenade. They're useful, but I really think that you're better off carrying a gas grenade. So let's talk a bit about the Scout mechanics in this game. I mentioned shooting people at certain distances. there's a lot to talk about with regards to that. Scout rifles come in a couple of different varieties. The scoped and the unscoped are the big ones. And I use scope ones throughout this video, but I actually switch over to unscoped when I play the game for the most part. And that's because the unscoped ones have decent hip fire. It's a little bit more useful when you're attacking points. But sniper rifles in this game have a sweet spot mechanic, and that is to say, if you shoot somebody while you are a certain distance away from them, depending on the distance, you will do more damage, or less damage if you're too close or too far. So you have to be right in that sweet spot, which for each gun it's a little bit different. But you'll see right there, I hit that guy probably in the upper chest, and I did 76, whereas if I was in the sweet spot for the gun, I would have done 100 damage and got the kill like I did on that support character at the very start of the video. So it's important to just be within that sweet spot range. And to assist you with being in that range, you have the ability to zero your sights. You have to remember that Battlefield does have a, and right here you get to see my real love for the Scout class, which is meleeing everything in existence. Anyways, you have to remember Battlefield does have a ballistic system going on. And that is to say that if I fire a bullet, it will take time to travel between me and the other point. And sometimes it'll have bullet drop associated with it and all this other stuff that you have to consider. And so to help the Scout class, which is going to be firing mostly from a distance away, I just cannot, here we go. But to help the Scout class be able to hit its targets, you're about to see a collateral hit there, 140 damage on one hit because I hit both of those guys for 70. So the Scout class has a ability to zero its sights. So if you're more than, you start off with a 75 meter zero, which means that you're accurate to where you're pointed up to 75 meters. And then after that, you're going to be a little, you're going to be over or undershooting your target a bit. So you hit V, and you'll ratchet it up to, I believe, 100 meters, and then so on, so on. I think it goes to about 500 or 300, depending on which gun you have. And so you have to just be tuned into the distance you're firing to. You can usually use the objective markers to figure out what your distance is between points, because hey, you're supposed to be firing at people on objectives, so if you know this objective's 50 meters away, you can be in that 75 range. But a lot of people like those range finding abilities. Anyways, hit some people, get some points. I play Scout class like my nephew plays Minecraft, and that is I swing a pickaxe at everything until it dies. And yeah, that's why you're seeing a lot of melee kills in this video. But the Scout class, if you can hit somebody in the head, no matter what the distance is, you're probably going to get a kill if you're using a scoped rifle. If you're using the unscoped rifles, you may actually end up missing a couple shots, or not getting kills automatically with a headshot. But the Scout class is a popular class simply because it does a ton of damage. It's a kind of low-risk class in a lot of ways. You're not expected to be on the front lines with it. And if you are, you're almost always going to be outclassed by the other people. Because the engineers, or, well, assault, have their SMGs and their shotguns, and the support class has its LMGs. And, of course, the medics have their semi-automatic to automatic rifles. So you probably want to stay back a little bit if you're running up against these guys. But it's a fun class. It's got some really cool tools. And I probably won't be playing a ton of it, but I will jump into that class every now and again to show it off. So, thanks for watching, everyone. I'll see you next time.